We're back here with Tech Tuesday on Northwest Digital News and SMB Nation. I'm Kevin Hunter with Kyle Torgerson and our special guest and tech contributor out of Seattle, Harry Brelsford. Welcome, Harry.
Hey, gentlemen. It feels like a Monday, but it's Tuesday. I guess that holiday, it's a Tuesday, Monday.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, we have a number of great conferences going on all around the country for people who are tech users and developers. And first stop is going to be in Boston, the Channel Pro SMB Forum 2018. That is happening on September 6th.
Yeah.
Share with our viewers what they might expect to cover here in this conference.
Sure. And folks, if for some reason you can't respond by Thursday, it also repeats on Tuesday, November 6th in Long Beach, California. So, but specific to what Channel Pro does, Channel Pro, the SMB Summit, is for the computer consultant, the computer guy. Mm-hmm. In my industry, we call them managed services providers. But, you know, every small business, Kevin and Kyle, has and forget the gender reference. Let me make that neutral. But they have the computer guy or gal, right? Yep. The person you call when you can't print. The show is for that person, Kevin. They've also called them resellers. And so, what if your audience, if someone in your audience fits that profile, and I'm sure they do, you would want to keep an eye on these shows. They do 4 a year. Again, Thursday in Boston. I'll be there, and it's to help you, quite frankly, be trained by vendors and to learn what's new, right? What's coming down from the different suppliers and vendors and distributors. It will not be confused for an academic conference. This is much more hands-on, like what's the new printer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
What I'm really blown away by is how much of this sort of thing is available to people like all around the country. So, you know, if you're in these fields of tech and development, there's a ton of stuff available. And I appreciate you mentioning that this one is available again come November. So is there anything else that you want to cover there on that Channel Pro SMB?
Yeah. What I like about it is they have a real sense of community of like-minded computer guys and gals. And so a lot of people trade notes from the field or tales from the trenches. And then equally important, that's a free conference. So you're going to get yourself your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're going to get some vendor content, not academic content. And you're going to be able to network, which, you know, I'm going to say it once and probably 2 or 3 times throughout today's show. That's the value of going to live conferences, is that networking capability. Professionals like to run with professionals.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
All right, coming up later in September 24th through the 28th, there's actually a couple of conferences in 2 locations. Let's start with the Microsoft Ignite. This one is going on down in Orlando.
Yep. So what Microsoft did, and this is maybe more interesting to much of your audience, is Microsoft rolled up 3 different conferences. I can remember 2 off the top of my head. One was called the Professional Developers Conference, or PDC. So those are the DevOps guys and gals. And, you know, people who are developers, they're the new rock stars, right? So exactly. They are, and they all get together. So PDC rolled up. Then they had one called Stampede. And what Stampede was a conference back when Great Plains was an independent company in Fargo, North Dakota. Great Plains Accounting, Great Plains Dynamics. And they rolled that in. And then they rolled in a third. That's the one I can't remember the name, but they rolled in IT Pros, and they made a big confab called Microsoft Ignite. It's in Orlando. If I had to guess, I'll take a stab at it. I bet it's 20,000 attendees, and you know, Orlando right there at that big conference center can handle them. And again, folks, I'll be at each of these, and I'm always up for meeting listeners, viewers. So, you know, offer up feedback if you think you might be able to attend Ignite. What's interesting is with Ignite is, well, a couple of things. First of all, it's a relatively expensive conference. I think it's approaching about $2,000 for the 4 or 5 day attendance. So you want to think that through. Now that all makes sense if you're a professional in the field of IT, right? You go to one conference a year, and you will make that spin. The other thing would be is that it's a 4 or 5 day conference end to end. So it's a lot of information. It's a big commitment. It's a popular conference. If the shoe fits, go.
700 plus deep dive sessions, it says here on the website.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
100 plus expert led and self-paced workshops. That's a lot of stuff to cover in the time frame you got there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, very good. Also happening right around the same time now, I would just want to go back to something really quick. I noticed on the website that it says the Microsoft Ignite conference has been sold out, but there are options available to participate via live stream. And it says check back on September 24th. So if you go to the website, which we're showing there on the back screen, Microsoft.com, and that's en-us/ignite. Go to the website here, and you can find opportunities to join via live stream. Well, over in San Francisco, during these same dates, one date less, on the 25th through the 28th of September, is Dreamforce's it's Salesforce's annual user and developer conference, and that's happening in San Francisco.
Yep. Yeah, so if you can imagine, given my role as an analyst, I mean, the fall's a busy season. That's why we're having this conversation today. So I'm going to spend a couple days in Orlando and then fly directly to San Francisco and catch the back end of Dreamforce. So let's talk about that. Dreamforce is a very impressive conference. Since I've tracked it, I've watched it go, and I got in the game a little bit late. They had 50,000 users 5-6 years ago when I started tracking it. It's a well-established conference. It's now reportedly north of 170,000 users. So, guys, this is going back to I mean the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in January. I mean, these are big numbers. That's good and bad. It's the kind of conference you should go to once, and especially if you use Salesforce or have an interest in Salesforce. So let's first of all put that filter on, because if you don't have an interest in the topic, don't go. But let's assume that your small business, your mid-sized business is running Salesforce CRM. You got to go. You got to go once, right? It's a huge conference. I'm sure they have thousands of breakout sessions or north of 1,000 sessions. They're going to have a lot of vendors. But if that's what you do, you got to go. It's once a year. And then just the sheer logistics of it. I went to CES once. I don't know if both of you have had the opportunity to go to CES in early January. I went. It's not quite my audience, consumer electronics, but just to see about 200,000 people at a conference, I just wanted to see it. And there's a little bit of that with Salesforce, that everybody's got to go once, right?
That's correct. Well, Salesforce is a well-renowned cloud computing company. Most people should know what cloud computing is all about, but could you explain that briefly for our audience, Harry?
Well, yeah, and I'll give you an example. A supporter of SMB Nation is Intuit, the accounting system with QuickBooks. Okay, so I'm gonna use an analogy. And right now, Intuit, they don't compete with Salesforce. They would be complementary to Salesforce with accounting, but they are best known for their QuickBooks that is installed on your local C drive, right here on your computer, on your laptop. You close the laptop, you go home, and you can continue to do your accounting. Intuit is best known for that. Intuit is in a period of transformation trying to take QuickBooks up to the cloud, so you could use it from any device very easily, like your tablet, your phone, your desktop computer at home, and then of course your laptop. So cloud gives you a lot more flexibility on the delivery of where you could use the program, and then it also makes it very easy to update. Now let's connect the dots with Salesforce. That was an analogy. With Salesforce, they were born in the cloud, so they never had this legacy big iron, C drive desktop mentality. Again, that's good and bad, because it's bad if you're on a plane and the internet is very expensive, like $49 for the flight, and the internet is not very fast, that would be the only way you could reasonably get to Salesforce. Versus my prior example with QuickBooks, you could use QuickBooks on the plane because it's right here.
Correct.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense. So anybody who's either IT professional, industry pioneers, or prominent thought leaders, head down to San Francisco for the Dreamforce conference. Coming up in October, the 1st through the 3rd, right in your backyard there, Harry, in Seattle, is the Geekwire Summit.
Yeah. So what I like about Geekwire is it's modestly priced. I don't know if you have access to the price. I believe it's sub $500. I know it's below $1,000 to attend. So it's modestly priced. And I think you get a lot for it. And so what Geekwire does is bring in a lot of different thought leaders, and they talk about a range of technology. So not just Microsoft, not just Salesforce, not just resellers. Geekwire is maybe a little bit higher level visionary conference. So I'll tell you, last year when I went, one of the speakers was the CEO of OfferUp, a phone application that quite frankly competes with Craigslist in the sale of goods. I don't know about services, but the sale of goods. And, it's a nicer interface, and that's out of Seattle. And that's the kind of speakers they have is they're bringing in the CEO, the founders of these different companies, and you have access to them, right? I mean, you can literally, if you so desire, sit in the front row. I always like to tell a joke about Seattle, that Seattle, a lot of people don't realize Seattle has Scandinavian roots, right? If you go way back when, it's a Scandinavian city like Ballard, and Scandinavians tend to be shy. And so here's the good news. At a conference in Seattle, there's always a seat in the front row.
Right. Yes.
Everybody's sitting in the back, right? Because they don't want to get called out. Go to Geekwire, sit in the front row, and again, you're going to see an impressive array of local thought leaders. Zillow was there last year. Zillow hosted the online real estate company. Zillow hosted a reception. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's real access. Real smart people, and it gets you thinking. And then finally, Kevin, some of the dialogue, what I like about any conference, and I think every conference should have, is it should be a little disturbing, right? You should be, conferences should be a little bit provocative. They should disturb you a little bit, because you need to just kind of get out of your head. And one of the dialogues at Geekwire last year was the discrimination in the tech industry for people over 50 trying to get a job. This lady said, my husband, former Microsoft, highly skilled, over 50, doesn't even get a return phone call when he applies for jobs on a website. And
right.
It was disturbing. And that's good. You go be disturbed at Geekwire.
Good place. Well, in answer to an earlier question, Harry, on the registration page, it shows early bird admission is $5.99.
Yeah.
There's also a $97.87 fee and sales tax, so roughly $700 total out the door.
Yeah.
But that early bird is available through September 7th. So anybody thinking about going to that conference and want to take advantage of that needs to do so soon. Also, there is, if you have like 3 or more people going from your organization, that cost drops down to $549. So as you mentioned, very inexpensive conference, and a lot of great content there. Well,
yep.
One of the last conferences that I wanted to mention is one that's happening down in Austin, Texas. This is the Spiceworks conference, and they have billed on the front page the most happening tech conference around.
Yeah.
They're proud of it.
Yeah. So again, it's Tech Tuesday, and I'm making an assumption that many of the viewers and listeners obviously have an interest in technology. And many times that's people who have a job in technology. They work in technology. In our industry, we call those IT pros. And Spiceworks has really dominated that community. They have a community of 5 million IT pros as members. And what Spiceworks does is it has online forums where you can help each other. They have little monthly meetings called the Spice Core. It's like a user group. So then they have the annual conference. And what's nice about the annual conference, they're based out of Austin. That's right where they are. And I liken it to, I've gone before, I'm going again this year. Again, love to see any viewers down there. But it's like Comic Con. So what Spiceworks has done is it's built a culture that is people wear costumes to this thing. Okay, so it's fun, and that we don't always see that. Let me put it this way: you're not going to see that at Dreamforce. Let me tell you, Dreamforce is going to be a little more buttoned up, as we say, and there's a time and a place for that. But Spiceworks is fun. It's during the same week as Austin City Limits, a big music festival.
Right.
So yeah, so they have some great parties at night. But I guess what I would encourage you to think about with Spiceworks is it's going to be very, very hands-on technically. So if you were an IT pro, let's say working for an aerospace vendor to Boeing, not Boeing itself, but maybe one of the many vendors that serves Boeing, and you have a problem that's slightly bewildering, right? In
Right.
terms of maybe CAM, computer-aided manufacturing, you're going to find that person at Spiceworks to maybe have a dialogue about CAD, computer-aided design, or computer-aided manufacturing, and you're going to leave richer for it. So it's all about community. And again, I just can't get over how it's really the only tech conference I've been to where people wear costumes.
That's very cool. That'd be right up Kyle's alley here.
Yeah.
he shows up at broadcasts we've had recently dressed up as a pirate. So
there you go.
He'd like that a lot. Well, so there are 5 great conferences. I just want to recap these for people. First of all, we covered the Pro SMB Forum 2018. That's in Boston on September 6th. The Microsoft Ignite, September 24th through the 28th in Orlando. Dreamforce Salesforce's annual user and developer conference in San Francisco, September 25th through the 28th. Geekwire Summit, that's in Seattle, October 1st through the 3rd, and the Spice World Conference, October 8th through the 10th in Austin, Texas. I know we're a little short on time here, Harry, but I want you to answer a quick question here as it pertains to browsers. A lot of questions people have. You know, should people be using Chrome? What about people who are still using Explorer, Firefox? What's really the best? What do you recommend? And what offers the best security with regard to browsers?
Sure. So a couple of thoughts. One is I use virtually all of them for a number of reasons. I'm an analyst, and quite frankly, the other day I could get Firefox to show my external camera, and I couldn't get Google Chrome to show it. So it's always those day-to-day oddities is to navigate life as a professional. But number one, I would go with Chrome. Number two, I guess Firefox. Number three, I'm trying to still stay in love with the Microsoft solutions. It comes built in to the Windows 10 operating system, so you can't miss it. But I'll tell you an interesting, let's go with number 4, Safari over on the Macintosh. Over the weekend or last week, I helped move my mom into her new unit in her retirement home. And she is done with her MacBook. So I now have a Macintosh, which is kind of cool. I want to learn it again. Been a few years. And I went to Safari, and I could not get to the New York Times because it wasn't adhering to HTTPS, right? To have a secure session versus HTTP. And I played with it last night. You know, it's a Monday holiday night. I played with it, and then I went back to TV. I'm going to continue to play with it as I get back up to speed in the Macintosh world. But then this morning, a major vendor, Symantec, kicked out a thing about the HTTPS standard being the default now in Google Chrome. It was an email, and of course, Symantec has a business interest in you refreshing their security suite. That's where this was all going. But that was interesting to me that I experienced it myself last night. And then there was an email this morning talking about the flight, if you will, the transformation to HTTPS. in Google Chrome and enforcing that, right? So you don't have unsecure pages. So long-winded way of just giving you my view of the world, but I roll with Google Chrome personally. I'd be curious what your experience is, but you asked the question and I've given you an answer.
All right. Well, Chrome has been the browser that we've used a lot here on this end as well. Thanks to everybody who's joined us here on this broadcast. We are out of time now, so we're going to leave it at that. But thanks for joining us here on this special broadcast, a discussion of all the various tech and user developer conferences going on around the United States. On behalf of myself, Kevin Hunter, Kyle Torgerson here out of Longview, Washington, our NorthWest Digital News Studio, and Harry Brelsford from SMB Nation, hailing to us out of Seattle today. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here on this Tech Tuesday. Till next time, take care.